You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We talk all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry agent service with my friend Linda. Make sure you tune in. Hello, welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry agent service. My friend Linda. Linda, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. For those who do not know you, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hey, I'm Linda. I am a product manager in Azure AI Foundry, and I work on tools in Foundry Agent Service.
Amazing. And we get to work together because I work on agent stuff too, so we get our fingers pruning together. So let's start first with just a brief overview of what Azure AI Foundry agent service is, and then let's talk about MCP for those that haven't heard what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So Azure AI Foundry Agent Service is a managed runtime service that allow you to build agent with the Foundry models as well as great tools that we have built and provided for you. In terms of MCP, you can think of it as more like an open JSON-RPC-based protocol, which was originally proposed by Anthropic, but right now it's an open protocol that allow everyone to build their APIs, expose their functions through a common protocol, and make it super easy to be plugged into any agent that you're building with. And with today's preview, Foundry Agent Service actually becomes a first-class MCP client and allow you to bring any remote MCP server, either self-hosted or SaaS provided, within Foundry Agent Service and build your agents with the APIs behind those MCP servers.
That is amazing. And I like the idea of MCP because it allows you to make your agents be able to do other things other than just respond in a chat, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So can you show us what it looks like to build this into the agent service?
Definitely. Let me actually show you firstly how it works in code, and let me share my screen right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah, what you see here is my code sample of using MCP server, a remote MCP server about Azure REST API specs, and let it to interact with my Foundry agent.
Hold on, let's pause right here for a second. I'm looking at a project client here. What is the AI project client? Can you tell us a little bit about that? I feel like we could make an entire episode on that, but maybe give us the highlights.
Yeah, for sure. So AI Project Client is actually powered by the Foundry projects that we built to power Foundry Agent Service and a bunch other great Azure AI offerings. And we definitely should have a episode about it, but that's the kind of the places where you manage your agent settings, your models, and your even connections to various services.
I love it. So what we're doing here is we're creating a connection to the project client in Foundry, Azure AI project client, and then we're creating an MCP tool that maps to the server URL for REST specs.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So within the project client, I can create an agent. As you can see here, create an agent is something supported by project client. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm adding my models. I'm giving a name to my agent called my MCP agent and giving some instructions and add my MCP tool to my agent.
So let me ask another question before you get going. I'm assuming, and I don't know as much about MCP as I would like, but I'm assuming there's some kind of authorization protocol as well. How do I make it so that I can get authorized with an MCP? Is that something that's considered here?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think authorization is something that everyone really care about. So with MCP as a protocol right now, it currently support OAuth, and from Foundry, we're actually investing a lot to support much more different types of authentication methods with MCP as a tool. Not all of them are currently available to the public. Stay tuned, and we will have much more coming soon around authorization and authentication.
I love it. This is really cool. So sorry to interrupt. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. So the rest will be pretty standard to how when you are creating an agent, you need to create a thread, you need to create a message. So here, for my message, I'm just asking, hey, can you summarize the Azure REST API specs README for me? And I create a message, I create a run, provide the tool information. And what's really interesting about MCP and special handling that I have here is around require action, because we know that MCP is just a protocol that you can put anything, any API behind an MCP server. So to make developers or even IT admin has control over what's going to be sent to the MCP server, we actually have human in the loop, or we call it human approval by default enabled, so that every time before the model actually called the MCP server with the content or with the tool calling, it asks you either as a user or the developer for approval. And this is some logic that I wrote to just handle the approval required. And later you can see how it actually works in my demo.
This is really cool. So effectively, and then can you make the terminal go down a little bit so I can see more of the code? As I'm looking at this, so this effectively is saying, hey, if it's gonna make a tool call to the MCP server, we're gonna ask for permission to do that before it happens, and you have to do that. You have to make sure you do that in code.
Yes.
Okay.
We will be adding more confirmation or ways for you to categorize and approve the tool call, but that's the concept and idea.
This is cool. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so after I handle the tool approval, the agent will get the tool approval, and then they will go ahead and submit the tool outputs. And for some troubleshooting, if something went wrong with your MCP server, we also can print out all of the run steps where you can see the actual details of what the model is calling and how is it calling, what tool input and output we're getting there.
All right, can we scroll up one second? Because I want to see this. Because I feel like there's like a loop happening. Can we scroll up to a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yes. So effectively, can we scroll up just a little bit more? Because I want to see, like, because there's a place where you're saying execute agent, right? Where is that?
Sorry, where?
Can you scroll up more? Scroll up more. There. So in line 38, you're creating an agent run.
Yeah.
And then in the while loop, you're managing like, hey, while it's running, I'm going to get callbacks from the service that says, hey, what's going on? Or you're actually waiting for something to happen. Is that am I getting this right?
Yeah, exactly. So when I started a run, I will have a while loop to continuously getting the run status. And the run status can be queued or in progress, where there's not much I need to do at this point, which is basically waiting for the agent to process it. But once the run status becomes requires action, and for MCP tool, that actually means this is something that requires human approval. And when I got the require actions, that's the if statement that I'm doing right now, which is, it requires action and the action type is submit tool approval. Then it comes to the side of, I need to firstly print out what is the tool calling details that the service come back with, and then decide whether I want to approve or not. If approval is yes, then we will submit that tool approval and submit it back to the service so the service can further proceed. If the approval is no or false, then basically the loop will stop.
I see. And this contemplates a situation where there might be multiple tool calls, because that MCP service might have multiple tool calls, correct?
Yeah.
Or the ability to multiple tools in it. All right, that's cool. And then if we scroll down, after the loop is running, this is the tool approvals. You're submitting the tool approval in the while loop, and then once this is done, then you're outputting like this is everything that happened.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I feel like can we take a look at this running? This is cool. And by the way, this explanation is excellent. So thank you for that.
Of course. Let's see how it goes. So let me do it again. So what I'm going to do is just run my MCP Python code. And I actually have a few things printed out over here. So as you can see in my code, when I create an agent or when I create a thread, I'll print them out. And you can see here, I have my agent, thread, message, run, created. And here's actually what happened when the approval is required. So it will tell me, hey, developer, I'm going to call this specific tool in this MCP server called fetch Azure REST API docs. And do you want to approve it? I can say yes to approve, or I can just type whatever else to reject. So it's it seems pretty secure because it's just trying to fetch the Azure REST API docs, and I trust this MCP server, so I'll say just yes. So as you can see here, my tool approval actually got submitted. So the model will actually take the action to send this tool call request to the MCP server. So right now we're just waiting for it to get the content retrieved and generate a response for us. So this is the response that's generated, and you can also see much more details around how the model has been thinking, the tool input and output by printing out the wrong steps.
This is so cool. And by the way, as you're scrolling through, the one thing that I think you and I have talked about this, the thing I don't like about some implementations of agents is that nobody knows what's even going on. But this makes it explicitly clear that, hey, before anything happens, we're going to require approval. And you can also see every single step of everything that happened along the way.
Yeah, totally. And even on top of that, what else we give actually more customization to customer. Yeah, because if you are saying, hey, I have used this MCP server long enough, or this is an MCP server I developed by myself, I don't want to handle human the loop every time, because providing yes every time, especially if I'm trying to put create an agent running behind the scene and complete workflow, I might not be able to respond every time it needs a human loop. But I know this MCP server is really trustworthy. I trust it. We also give customization capabilities for customer to say, hey, I don't think I really require approval for this MCP. Or you can say, okay, for some of the tools in this MCP server, I do need human in the loop or approval. Or for some other tools in this MCP, I don't need to require any approval. So we give you some flexibility and control over and to a really granular level and see, okay, what tools you actually need to approve on.
So that's really cool. So a question, because I know there's an entire service, Foundry service for this, because I've shown it before. Does this show up in the actual website? The Foundry portal, like the MCP tool. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Let me actually share my screen there.
Okay.
So what you see here is actually our Foundry portal, the UX experience. And as you can see here, my MCP agent got created, the model got added, the MCP server got added, etc., etc. We are working in progress to bring the full end-to-end experience of MCP in the Foundry portal. And at that time, you'll be able to replicate the same experience I was just showing in SDK in the UX as well.
And that's cool because, like, honestly, like, I would love, like, I'm a dev, and so I love the idea of having the SDK being able to create these things in code, because then this is something I can automate and GitHub Actions, and then I can validate this stuff inside of the portal. All right, so this is really cool. Where can people go to find out more?
Yeah, actually, we have a blog published, the AKA link you can find below. And you can also go to Microsoft Learns to learn more about the documentation, the code samples of how to use MCP with Foundry Agent Service.
Well, this has been amazing. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Linda, we got to have you come on and explain some of this other stuff for us. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you so much for watching and learning all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. My friend Linda, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care.